Hello, Salt Strong Nation. It's Joe Simons.
And Luke Simons.
Dude, it's good to have you back. It's been quite a few episodes.
It's been a while. Good to be back, and literally just got off the water, so glad to be here.
Cool. Catch any fish?
Yeah, it was fun. It was the weather. It's just like every time I take the paddleboard out and I look at the wind forecast, I'm like, oh, like 5 to 10 miles an hour, and then you get there and it's totally different. This is one of those days. This was like ripping 15. Fortunately, I paddled into the wind on the way there, so the way back was easy. But yeah, I caught some fish. Nothing big, but some snook and reds. Had some good sight fishing shots at big snook and a really nice red, but they just wouldn't commit. But it's always fun to get out there.
Cool. Well, I'm looking forward to see the report. All of you insider members, everyone a member of our super community, you'll get to see the exact spot and everything he used to catch them, where the bait was, the fish were, things that were missed. It's a pretty cool learning experience. So
yeah, this one's really just what to do. Basically, cold front's coming in, and so it's what to do when you're fishing like the day of a cold front when the wind's ripping and weather's all gnarly. And there's a little trick that pretty much guarantees some fish. Might not be the biggest, but there's some.
Cool. Well, speaking of cold, let's get into this cold-blooded podcast episode. I believe this is going to be probably our most controversial podcast episode, and it's something that's been on our mind for a while. And, a lot of times people do this controversial stuff. They're not really qualified to do it. Let me start by saying we are qualified just because we have, I believe, the largest private saltwater fishing Facebook group in the entire country, on the entire Facebook platform that I have seen. There are some, if like some buy and sell stuff, like basically like Craigslist, where you're just, buying stuff, those get a little bit bigger. But in terms of a private saltwater fishing Facebook group, I believe we had the biggest one. I think we're just at like 55,000 members. So let's take a little step back, Luke, and talk about kind of how it all started. I think it'll be good to kind of set the stage on why we believe that the end is near for many of these Facebook fishing groups and potentially even ours. And we're going to talk about the negativity and just the cursing and the fighting and the negative Nancy's and the keyboard police and like all this stuff on there that is literally driving us to the point where there's been a couple nights where I was about to delete the entire stinking thing. I was so fed up with it. So let's go back in time. I think it's been around 3 years or approximately, maybe 2.5 since we've had it.
Yeah, I think it's been a solid 3 now. And the number I was just pulling up on my other screen. So the official number is 54,943 members right now. So yeah, it's been great watching it grow, and no telling how many people we've kicked out. This has probably been the most heavily moderated group. And that was really, it started out as just there it is right there.
You're talking.
Somewhere on there should be the 54,000.
Okay, members.
Yeah, so it started out really just for a way to communicate with our members, and this is when we were an apparel company and we were mostly selling apparel, and it was great. I mean, it was a nice platform, and it just started out like super slow, and then once we hit about like the 1,000 mark, it seems like that's when it actually started growing pretty fast and got some legs. And a big problem we had is a lot of spammers in there. I mean, we ran into so many issues. It was way more difficult.
I'll pull this up. So yeah, over 2,000 people that we have permanently blocked. That's not kicked out. That's the ones that we've kicked out and permanently blocked. And I mean, there is just some freaking weirdos.
We should hide those names. Sorry for anybody who's on there, but I guess you must have done something.
I don't think anyone here is even in America. And there's a lot of real people that got kicked out but I mean, look at these names. It's like Swahili. I mean, there's some random stuff. So, I mean, this is part of the problem, right? That you get these people who just want to come in there and spam. There's been groups where people like this have come into those little viruses. Like, all of a sudden when all of your friends are like posting free Ray-Bans, like it starts some stuff like this, and these people that come into these groups and post something, and one person clicks it, and it's like this little virus that's built in. So it got out of control. Like, I think you're right. 1,000 was like that magic number, right? And dude, we were so pumped up. Remember how like pumped up we were? Like, oh man, this is gonna be game changing. We did it.
Yeah, and so the unique thing on ours is that just from looking around before we even started, we realized that there's really not many that are family friendly. There's a lot of cursing, there's a lot of belittling. Like so ours was going to be different, right? So we were like very upfront. It was no cursing. no bullying, like just be respectful, right? Like just have common decency. And it actually, that was working pretty good until we got to about that 1,000 mark. And then I guess once you get a certain size, there's just so many people who are either negative or trying to sell spam stuff. It was shocking how much we had to police it, how much time we had to put into policing. Even then, people would still slide in some bad stuff, whether they're cursing at each other, putting in like pornographic stuff, like you name it. It's just shocking how much smut is out there.
Yeah, let's. So now we have 27 admins and moderators, 27, and I mean, some of these people are like our full-time team members. A lot of these people are. I mean, they're telling us that they're spending hours and hours a day on here just moderating stuff and kicking people out and deleting comments. I mean, it's nuts when you start hitting that 50,000 mark. So to kind of keep this conversation going from 1,000, then we hit 10,000. I remember we were at that one event, that marketing event, and we were telling everyone we just hit like 24,000. We're about to be 25. And like, we were like high five, like, this is awesome. And at that point, it was still mostly positive, right? I mean, it was, for the most part, it was still a pretty, like, we feel like it was kind of a family, like everyone was pretty friendly. And then I think we hit like 35 and like, we're like, oh man, as soon as we hit 50, like it's almost like thinking that as soon as you have enough money, things are going to get better. And that's easy to say. And it's easy for someone who has a lot of money to say that's not true. And it's easy for someone who has no money to say, oh man, you're an idiot. Like, of course it's going to make it easier. But when you have 50,000 people, yeah, it's a little bit easier to get traffic and stuff to our site, a little bit easier to get our brand out there, but everything is harder. I mean, we have 27 people that we're having just to moderate this stuff. And I mean, there are days where I'm getting text messages and private messages on Facebook. Oh man, like so-and-so's doing this. Like, it's like putting out all these little fires, and it's like babysitting kids so many times. But I think the biggest problem, and that we're going to talk about and address throughout this podcast, is actually, here's a really good analogy. So imagine growing up in your town and nice neighborhood, middle class, let's just say, because that's how we grew up. Middle class neighborhood was nice. And then you go away to either college or you get married and move away, maybe a different state, different area. And all of a sudden you come back 15, 20 years and you want to check out like the house you grew up in, right? So you go back to the house you grew up in, all of a sudden you get there and you're kind of disappointed. You're like, man, like the yard's overgrown and it looks like a bunch of freaking thugs over next door. Like, what's going on here? And in many cases, what happened is a couple of bad people came in and kind of took over the neighborhood, and they attracted other bad people, and birds of a feather flocked together, and then the good people left to start their own nice neighborhood. And that, I mean, it happens all over the country, and it's now happening on platforms like Facebook. And there's a reason there's a lot of people leaving besides the privacy stuff. That's a whole other issue. And I actually, before we go way down a different path, I want to start off by saying that this is not Facebook's problem. Just like it's not that, the street, that neighborhood's problem, it's the people. So Facebook's not the issue. They have their own issues. That's a whole different podcast episode. But the issue is the people. And so what we've seen are there's so many little negative people that are coming and stirring up the pot and really, I'm talking like not just like a little negative and a little cursing. I'm talking about like stuff that you're like blown away that people actually act like this. I mean, like death threats and stuff, crazy stuff. And like, whoa. And all of a sudden, guess what that does? That scares one or two really good people away. And it attracts a couple other knuckleheads that say, hey, man, this chucklehead is sitting here doing death threats and cussing. I'm going to do it too. And I mean, I'm telling you, that's how society starts shifting, right? That's how people start believing that, hey, it's okay to do this. It all takes a couple bad people, and it starts attracting more of these bad people. And I've seen it over and over again. Who's that very first guy? Luke, Sam. He's one of our.
Yeah, Sam Spence, awesome guy up in Georgia.
Hope he's listening to this. We're giving him a shout out. He was like one of our very first 100 members in this fishing tribe here.
Yeah, great angler and posting a lot of great redfish and it got to the point where where he would post like just totally innocent pictures, like good pictures. And for some reason, somebody would say something bad or, whatever the case is, you name it. It's amazing how the most innocent of all posts in some, I guess in a naysayer's eye can be just terrible and turn into to an argument all of a sudden. So anyhow, it's he was just a super nice guy, and then he got so fed up with the negative comments that were coming in that like totally stopped posting. And then actually, I don't even know if he is even he was kind of upset with our company as well, because a lot of people associate that Facebook group with our company, which is another big problem. That's another reason why we moderate so heavily.
Yep.
So yeah, it was sad to see that with such a great guy, and he's like the exact type of person that we want to be involved, where he's a great angler, he was teaching, and so that was before we had 27 moderators. So now we have I think any kind of issue gets resolved much faster than before, but even still, it's just sad that it is required for us to have so many moderators, and even then it still have some hiccups.
Yeah. So to reiterate, Sam, along with many others just like him, joined, loved it. Like they were part of our family. Like, I mean, he was like, and he still is a good customer. So I think he now understands it was not us, but I think so many people do. They're like, oh man, that's how Salt Strong behaves. They're all about cursing and putting spam and, girls in thongs and all this other stuff that was going on, and a whole lot worse. And guys like Sam finally just left, and we reached out to him because we really liked him. He's a good customer. And he told us, he's like, man, I'm so fed up with like going out of my way to share tips. Like he wasn't just like putting pictures. He was sharing, hey, here's what lure I'm using. Here's where I was. Like he was being really helpful, and all he did was get bashed, and sometimes it was, oh, you're holding the fish too close to the camera. Sometimes it was some other person from a different state not looking that he was in Savannah, Georgia, and saying, oh, you're not allowed to keep that many redfish or specks. And he's like, dude, like go check the rules in your state and leave me alone. And it became like just this nonstop fight amongst fellow anglers. And if you looked at our mission statement, I mean, we truly believe it's a badge of honor to be a fisherman, and we all have to stick together. And that's what drives us crazy about these Facebook groups. And I believe that's going to be the death of them if something doesn't change, just because of all this negativity. It's driving out guys like you and I. I mean, we literally quit our 6-figure jobs, sold everything, risked everything we had to start a fishing company to help people. And I'm personally not going on these Facebook groups that much anymore. Like, if you don't know the end of the story, we created a whole separate community outside of Facebook, and we have a private Facebook group. We have to pay to get in there, just to get rid of all of the crap out there. And so I'm personally hardly going inside the public one anymore. Usually it's when someone tags me because something's inappropriate. But I mean, it's maybe a couple times a week, maybe. I will post some of our stuff, just get some free traffic, be candid with you. But besides that, I mean, how often are you going in there, Luke?
Very rarely. Yeah, I mean, maybe once a week, if that. And for the same reason, because the big problem with that is again, it's not regional. I think the way for groups to be good is they have to be heavily moderated and like very specific region. Like the Tampa Bay Fishing Club's a good one, right? It's just Tampa Bay, and ours was kind of all around where we had the issues on somebody in Louisiana or South Carolina or Georgia posting. They can keep more redfish than we can here in Florida. And hey, if you're staying within the law, like, okay, like please post away. And that was like, yeah, that definitely led into a lot of arguments. And so that was one big factor of this private one that we created, where everything's regionalized, so you can actually sort and see what's happening near you, unlike the Facebook groups where it's kind of just plastered all over the place.
And there's no cursing, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, we literally, because it needs to be family friendly. We really encourage everybody to get their kids involved, and I heavily encourage parents to not get their kids involved in Facebook, just because there's just so much stuff, just smut out there. So that's a good thing about ours, where we literally have like any curse word you could think of on a list, and even if somebody types it in, it's not going to be displayed. So it's we basically took every lesson learned from the Facebook group and then applied it to the private one, where it literally all of the issues we've had before cannot happen.
Yeah. And I'm going to share this story real quick, and I'm going to show you what transpired from this one picture. And I've deleted the names for protect the people, even though I legally don't have to. But with the cursing, I want to bring this up because we get it a lot. And people are like, oh man, who cares? It's just like, it's part of society. Remember the neighborhood I told you about that went from being a nice middle-class neighborhood to complete ghetto? That's the same mentality. It's the same mentality about, getting prayer out of schools, and heck, getting prayer out of church at some point. Oh, well, hey, a couple people got offended, or a couple people. No, like there's rules for a reason. And here's our rules on the whole cursing thing. I have yet to find someone that can prove me wrong and like can actually like legitimately rebut this. I just said but, that's almost cursing. Okay. But I'm yet to find a conversation where any amount of cursing, whether a small word or many, many words, added value to the conversation. And it's one thing to slip up. We've all cursed. I'm not perfect. I'm not a Bible beater. I curse. I drink sometimes. Like, that still happens. When you're talking, it can slip up. I get that. It can happen. Like if someone slams something on your foot, I get it. But there's something completely different that happens when you're on a social media app. Whether you're on your phone or on desktop, you literally have to type in those words. Like you literally have to type in FU or whatever it might be. And then you have to hit a button called enter before that ever gets displayed. So there's nothing accidental about it. And I've yet to see any conversation where the cursing added value. And for those of you who say, well, hey, your kid shouldn't be on Facebook anyways. Yeah, Luke just said that. No kidding. But I don't want to see it just because it literally adds no value. And normally, because you're not face-to-face with someone, it ends up instigating stuff just because it's the tone. Usually when people start cursing, if you added one curse word, it just sets a more negative tone. And once again, I've yet to see where it adds any value. And so our rule is we don't want it. We don't want to deal with it. And even when my kids are behind my back, or my wife's behind my back, or if you're at a job where you might be looking on at your lunch break, or you're somewhere public and you are looking at, like, the last thing you want is your neighbor looking over, or your pastor, whoever it might be, to say, man, this guy's looking at all kinds of smut and cursing and stuff. Like, once again, it literally adds no value. And so I'm going to show you this picture real quick. So this was in our group, and these are two nice trout. No matter where you live, these are nice trout. And this is all he wrote. Found some gators. That's it. Can you guys see that? Can you see it, Luke?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. That's it. Okay, this is just part of the screen. You can see 95 comments came in, and this
so he didn't say they're 30 inchers. He's he is straight arming them clearly, but he's not making a big deal of it. It's two trout.
That's all I said.
Yep.
All right. So here we get, and I'm going to bring up Eric because we have a lot of respect for Eric. The dude is a legitimate fisherman, and he's someone who I think is caught in the middle of this, is someone who truly does want to help and share, and he's posting really good pictures. And we're driving people like Eric off these platforms because he's having to defend himself. So someone says, basically looks like Eric Whittett's haters, and then don't long arm. Hope that concealed carry helps you, because we won't be playing that. SHIT. It literally condescending Papa's D-bag I've ever met. I don't attention, blah, blah, blah. Like when I see the beach will hand it, literally talking about concealed, like, and you can say this is a death threat or not. I don't know. To me, like, I would be pretty upset if someone said that to me, but like, that's crazy. It's crazy. That all started from this one picture. I mean, literally, when you start talking about hope that concealed carry helps you because we won't be playing that, to me, that's kind of a death threat. That's some kind of threat that you're going to bring a gun somewhere. And right, Luke? That's nuts.
It's just not normal, and it's not.
No, and that's
not called for.
And this is not like a once in a million. Like this stuff is happening literally every single week. Maybe not every day and every hour, but every week there's something that escalates. It's this bad. Like, I'm talking crazy stuff. Every day we see this stuff. See if I can pull up another one.
And think how much we would be seeing if we didn't kick out all.
This is just yesterday. And our boy Ryan Jupy, who another guy, great angler,
big trout,
helpful, and he stopped posting and we reached out to him. He's like, man, I'm sick and tired of all the hate. He's like, he literally posted this in the last 24 hours. It's a nice trout. Once again, no matter where you're from, that's not a GoPro wide lens. You can say he had it up a little bit close. That's a nice trout. You can't make trout like that look that nice. It's a nice trout, right?
That's a big trout.
It's a big trout. All right. And let me pull up the screenshot I had here before I had to take it down. So, and I apologize. I didn't But the very first comments, this starts off the entire mindset of everyone else. Nice trout, but it'll make you look in the picture by extending it towards the camera, lame. And then now he's having to stay up all night defending himself. And turns out this is 28.5. He did actually measure it in 7 pounds. I mean, it's like crazy. And everyone's like, now everyone starts talking about he's mad at your long arm. Like, I was like, man, what is wrong with people? Like, if you don't agree with something or if you don't think that's a nice trout, then move on. I mean, it's the same with anything. Same with, we'll talk about the politics that are getting involved in all these fishing groups and stuff. If you don't like it, then just keep scrolling. That's the reason the scroll thing is here. If you don't like something, keep on moving.
If it was like
world? Good.
That's a nasty wound there. Ooh. If it was something where there was like a tournament and it was like the longest fish tournament and like you're actually like cheating in the tournament or there's money involved, then like maybe say something. But it's some guy posting the picture. He's happy about it. Everybody straight arms to some extent. I mean, nobody sits there and holds it right there next, like under their chin, right? Like everybody does some sort of straight arms. You can't call people out. It's just, I don't know. I don't agree with that. And again, it's just all about having fun. It's just sharing a picture. Why make it negative? Why turn something like that into a negative? I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't either. And once again, these are just 2 examples that I screenshotted recently, among many. I mean, it's nuts just how much the negativity's out there. Let me see if I can find any more here. This was the captain. I'll give you a credit here, Cap Michael Dawson. This was from, it might have been this. No, this is a different post. Someone got negative. Hey, I've never caught one that big, so it must be Photoshop. Whatever happened to just saying great catch or asking the original poster some tips and techniques on catching fish like that? I love that. Don't you?
It's solid.
That's all right. I mean, that's the answer. And so guys like Ryan, guys like Eric Whitted, who I mentioned earlier. I mean, guys like my brother Luke, and guys like Tony, guys and gals who are legitimate anglers who are going out there and have a lot to share are leaving these groups in swarms. That is the problem. That's the whole thing we're trying to get through to you guys. And this is not us preaching. I don't want anyone to think this is us preaching and like trying to like get on a pedestal. This is an open conversation. I want to hear your comments and I want to hear how we can solve this, because I don't want our group to die. I truly don't. I was so proud of it. It was our baby. We put so much time and energy into it. I don't want it to die. But at the same point, if it gets real bad, I am just going to leave it. And at some point, we'll just delete the whole thing and just say adios, because we have a group that's growing like crazy with really positive, like-minded anglers who are sharing their tips, actually sharing their spots, sharing like what's working right now. And that's the kind of stuff I want to be a part of. If I have to leave my old neighborhood and go to a brand new one where we're all friendly and we all have like rules in place, man, I will do it without even thinking twice about it. But I'm still going to give this a shot, right? I mean, Luke, don't you agree? This is not about us saying, oh yeah, we're going to shut this sucker down tomorrow. But know that it is certainly a conversation. And there's been many times at night where I just literally want to just delete the whole thing and just say, you know what, it's just not even worth it. And that's sad, right? I mean, it's sad that a small amount of negative people and haters can make a platform like a fishing community where we all should like each other and want to be helpful, make it to the point where we don't want to post anymore, make it to the point where guys like Ryan and Sam and these that just want to leave and not even post anymore. And it's sad to think that, the creators of it would even think to want to delete something with 55,000 anglers. I mean, to me, that's really sad. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on like, how do we fix this besides just kicking people out? 'Cause that's what everyone always says. Oh, I just keep kicking them out. Like, it's a full-time job.
You can't do it fast enough.
Yeah, you can't do it fast enough. And it's like gasoline. Usually what we found is that very first comment that really starts like the kind of the theme of the thread. So if the first one's negative, then all of a sudden all the chuckleheads start coming out of the forest and they all just start piling it on. And all of a sudden now we have to delete what could have been a really good post because we just don't have time to keep deleting stuff over and over again. Like, I don't have time to keep refreshing the page, and none of these other moderators are not getting paid to do this. So I don't know. I'd love to hear your feedback on it. We talked about the other stuff. that is the obvious, just the hatred, the belittling, the keyboard police, the politics. I mean, putting stuff in there about either side on politics is such a waste of time. Like, you're never going to convince the other side that you're right. That's not what these fishing groups are here for. Like, so all you guys who are doing it, stop the politics stuff. Luke, you remember the story of 2 Octobers ago when I was in the hospital with our son. My son Jackson was born, and he had a lot of complications. It was in the NSU for, I guess, 11, 12 days. And I was in there, and if you've ever been through that, it's like the worst thing of your world, like seeing your son potentially, like, on his deathbed, essentially. Like, you can't hold him, you can't touch him. He's in a little, this little basically bubble. And it was just a brutal time for me emotionally. And that night I was sitting there, like, on my phone. There's not much you can do, except just kind of sit in the waiting room there and wait, and then take a nap on the little couch, and did that for 11 days straight. And it was like halfway through, I was on the Facebook group, which I was really proud of and still proud of this day, but like, I was really involved and on there all the time. And I wish I had saved the screenshots from it, but it was a similar thing. It was just a nice catch. There was no one claiming anything crazy. It was just a nice catch. Someone said something too about long arming it. And the next thing you know, it got so out of control. The other gentleman is like doing some death threats and then talking about what he's going to do to the other guy's wife. Like, I'm talking like so out of control. And you remember that I did that Facebook Live, and that was where, like, all right, this is the end. Not the end of the group. I was like, any of this stuff, there's no more second chances. There's no more cursing, none of this belittling, none of this hatred. And I mean, death threats and talking about people's spouses and stuff. Like, man, it's like that to me, that was when we put the hammer down. But since then, it's just still like rampant and out of control. So once again, I want to hear your feedback, because I don't know what the answer is besides shutting it down or getting 1,000 admins, which I just don't think is the true answer. The answer we know, because we're doing it, is to take people off of the group and create their own little awesome ecosystem where they can share in a free place and they can ask questions, regardless if they're a full-time guide, which we have a bunch of, or weekend warriors, or even if you're a little bit new and you just have, a question where you don't want to get made fun of, and people are actually going to willing to help you. So I know that's one answer that we're already moving to, but I'd love to hear your feedback on how can these groups survive? How can they continue to grow when there's so much negativity and we're scaring away all the best people? Right, Lukey?
Yeah, that is the magic question. Obviously the one answer is the private group that we did, but I would love to see some sort of way that this Facebook group can, even if it doesn't grow, just at least stay very active, but just have a lower percentage of issues, right? Where we don't have to have 30 moderators on there, frequently, and even still, not have enough time, and nobody can be there on all, on every second. So there's going to be stuff that slides through, but what can we do to lessen the amount of stuff that flies through? It is every time that we think we have the answer, well, let's get some more moderators, and it's just never enough.
Come on, Jeff, say this is what we're doing. Trying to promote their pages. We're trying to advertise. The other thing too that annoyed me that Facebook said they never do, and this is kind of an example. These are more just related posts, but they're starting to put ads inside of even these private groups, which is really irritating. That they're now making money, even though we can't make money off this stuff, and we're doing this for a full-time job. And same like Tampa Bay Fishing Club. I mean, this is what they do. I mean, they put so many hours into it, and now Facebook is trying to monetize our groups and start putting ads in there, which is a little bit frustrating. I'm going through here and just seeing if there happens to be any funny ones. I haven't checked this today. Not a mean lionfish. So look, let's talk about this story. We met that Jeremy. So Jeremy, one of our members. Oh, there's Ryan's post there. We already had to delete a bunch of comments from. So Jeremy contacted us, and he wanted to do some things with us, and really wanted to help us out with a problem we were having with this community back when I want to say it was like that $35,000-$40,000 range, and we ended up going fishing with him in Tampa that day. Remember?
Absolutely.
And so Jeremy owns the largest, I think it's the largest NFL forum out there, and it happens to be based around the Carolina Panthers. I don't know if he's moved like and done other teams, but like at the time, the Carolina Panthers, like one of the best in the country. I think they got to the Super Bowl that year, just a few years back. And like Cam Newton was on fire, like it was that year. And so he had like the most popular forum for NFL addicts, if you will, and it was massive. So if you wanted to know anything going on about NFL in general, but anyone playing the Panthers or anything going on in the organization and behind the scenes stuff, he had it. It was really cool, and he had the same problem where he was literally about to like can it. He was like, man, he's like, I put my entire life into this, and it's like it brought me so much joy, and yet like all these negative people are bringing me down. And he's like, here's what you do. Because he went through and did the same thing. He started charging money to be able to comment. So the forum was still public, so you could go to the forum and see it. But if you wanted to make a comment, you had to pay money. It wasn't a lot of money. Like even ours is like 50 cents a day. It's a joke. It's less than a cup of coffee. So it was a really small amount, but you had to pay some kind of money to even comment and to basically join the community. And he said, guess what? Literally overnight, everything changed. All the haters went away. It's amazing when you charge just a little bit of money, all the haters go away. Like all the negativity went, all the keyboard, like literally he didn't have to have admins anymore. It's amazing how everything cleans up and clears up all the crap and all the spammers and all the people that just want to put bad links and viruses and stuff when you charge a little bit of money. Because the people that want to go do that, the people that wake up and just are miserable with their lives, which is most of the people who just want to put that kind of negativity in there, they're not going to spend money. Even if it's $1 or 50 cents a day, they're not going to spend the money to go in there and do it, which is really awesome. And he called it the credit card filter. And so that was another big reason that we really started pushing that, our insider, our super community so hard. One, it's all of our best tips. It's not just the community, it's just one piece of it. It's all the best tips. It's the fishing coaches that we focus on every single week and all their tips and what's working out. It's the trends. So we have literally this awesome trend analyzer tool, but we charge people 50 cents a day, or it's 40 cents a day to get in. And literally it changes everything. Guess how many admins we have over there? 0. It's just looking like, have we ever had, I think we had to kick out a couple people.
Just one. Yeah, just one.
I think actually 2 or 3, but one recently because he was just overall negative, and boom, it's a lot easier to kick him out and give his money back. Adios, muchacho. But besides that, we don't have to have any admins because with thousands of people and thousands of posts going up, it really just takes you and me to, occasionally have to delete something. It's
almost a year old now. Yeah, almost a year old, and there's 3. Even if it's 3, right? That's like we probably have 3 a day on the main Facebook group. It's amazing.
It's more like 30 a day. I mean, we're kicking out 3 people a day. That doesn't include the comments and all the stuff that's getting deleted. It's out of control.
Yeah, it's definitely a night and day difference on the paid platform versus the public group. It is shocking, and that is literally the reason why I'm rarely ever on Facebook anymore. I spend all my time in the group. That's where I post my insider reports.
Can you see this?
Yep. Yeah, so that's the cool thing the group has is that all the posts are actually regionalized, and then you can filter it by all the green marks are cities. And then all the red marks is an actual location of a post. And we actually only added the ability to do the red marks just probably like 3 months ago, if that. So it's been pretty awesome. Maybe just 2.5, but it's been awesome watching it grow. And this is where people show their tips and everything and the latest trends. I'm on this every single day.
Once you click one of these, so every one of these pins basically represents, like Luke said, let's just call it a fishing report or a tip, something in that city or region. And so this is what it looks like. And so it's kind of like Facebook. I made it super simple, where you put in your title, write a description. We got video now too, which is pretty awesome. You upload your image, and it's either a catch report, meaning you're actually sharing a report, like this is a report here. That's a heck of a day, by the way. Or it's just like a general thing like this. You just went to Bass Pro and checked out the pyramid, talks about what it is. A new member here, just talking about how glad he is to be here and what he wants to learn for surf fish, pure fish, jetty, etc. Little, and it's cool. And everyone's helpful. And like, look at the intel here. So people are sharing like where they were and what was happening, if the water clarity, the tide, the weather, what kind of, usually they have, oh, here it is, the lure or bait used, little tactics.
Yeah, the best part is the tips and tactics there at the bottom, because that I'd read every single one of those, because no matter how advanced you are, you're going to learn something from thousands of anglers who are actually sharing their detailed tips and tactics.
Cool pick.
I've learned some really good stuff out of this, so I make it a point where every day I go and just scroll down and I check them out.
Yeah, like how much better is this versus Facebook, right? I mean, how cool is that? And you can get on the map and check out like where he was. I mean, this stuff is awesome, and they're sharing all this. And up here yonder, it's all broken out. Like if you want to just see certain species, and these are my regions, you can change this stuff. But these are the different regions I want to look at, and you can see all the different reports from everyone else, the general questions, the insider reports, which is like on the water, like literally Luke and Tony and a couple others like showing their exact spots, but more importantly, the trends behind them. Like it would be like if a fishing captain like just let you put a GoPro on his shoulder and like film everything from where they launched to where they're getting bait to, how they position the boats, like, or their kayak, like literally everything that happened during that day. How awesome would that be? I mean, this is priceless stuff. And then we have some guides in here doing some forecast occasionally as well. Some of the most more helpful guides that we have in the community are putting little forecasts, like usually every Thursday night, say, hey, like here's what you guys should look for here in this area for the next couple of days. You see all these new insiders, Florida, Texas.
Yeah, so
in Texas, Ohio, South Carolina, New York. Pretty cool.
Yeah, it's been great. Yeah, definitely is. I kind of thought this would be more of a Florida thing when we first started this, and it's amazing how many states are now involved, especially along the coast, but even internally. I think we have at least one member in every state now.
Yeah, and 4 international, at least that I know of.
Yeah. And so
what's cool, the Aussie guys, dude, like even some of these Australia guys, because everyone's like, oh, it won't work for me. There's not enough spots in my area. It's about the trends. Like, right? I mean, spots don't move, yet fish are moving every single tide cycle, every single season. And these Aussie anglers that have similar, is not obviously not even the same fish. They're similar types of fish, similar types of depth inshore, and they're using the same kind of trends and tactics to catch fish there. I think it's so cool.
Yeah, I mean, if it's an ambush predator and it lives inshore, it doesn't matter what species they are, they will generally behave pretty similar to one another. And yeah, as far as, the trip I had today, I'll go through the video footage. I film my pre-trip plan, so that'll be one video, and then I'll record what happened on the water. And then at the end, I'll go through and kind of compare my pre-trip plan to actually what happened. And like what did it right, what did it wrong, and then that'll be one of the insider posts. That's what the actual insider post is. Whereas the normal reports are what you're seeing here, where the different members are posting their picks and then sharing their tips and tactics.
I gotta give this one a like. Let's be honest here. He caught that with the mustache.
That's a solid mustache.
Yeah, that is legit. Yeah, this is so cool. We're really proud of this. And and regardless if you want to come join us or not, I think this will be the future of where a lot of these groups are going. I feel like at some point, if you get enough of the positive people, the actual helpful people that do leave, which is happening in droves, I mean, literally by the thousands are joining this private community and are willing to sacrifice 40 cents a day, which is a joke, to get all this value. You're not just getting the community, you're getting all the tips and the trends. You're getting all literally we're putting up there's new things going up every single day on what's working right now. It's the stuff that the magazines can't do. I mean, by the time a fishing magazine hits your doorstep, it's 60 days old. The fishing TV shows are about entertainment. They're about selling, sponsors. I mean, that's nothing against them. That's their business model. As you probably know, by the time you watch a fishing TV show, it's usually 5 to 6 months old. So we're trying to put stuff that's literally working right now. As we talked about, we kicked off this call. Luke just got done fishing. And guess what he's going to do tonight? He's going to write up a whole report about it, edit the footage, and then boom, probably the next 24, 48 hours, that sucker is going to be live. You say, hey, literally, you can go recreate this in your area right now. Here is what's working. I think to me that stuff is priceless. And then of course just this network. I think the network, Luke, that was kind of the thing that surprised me. And you've got a cool story when you're in your tournament days, because you were, if you don't know Luke's story, I mean, he was just a normal weekend warrior, kind of a frustrated guy for a long time, and decided he really wanted to study the trends and study the biology of inshore fish. And he's like, you know what, I'm just going to enter a tournament and see what happens.
Well, I really just wanted to win tournaments, and that was what I had to do it. That was
talk about the whole network effect, because that was something that I didn't get it until like way into this whole Salt Strong thing, how important the network is.
Yeah, so I finally got a good boat, and I decided, my buddy and I, there's a tournament series coming up, and we're going to do it. And we were catching decent fish, but like never, it was trout and redfish tournament, and then snook when snook was in season, and it was a series that lasted pretty much the whole year. And so anyhow, basically what I'd heard, and if you don't have a 26-inch trout, like you're not going to come close to being on the board or placing anything. And so that was okay. I got to figure out big trout. Like that was it. And so every weekend I would even camp out. Like there are islands out there. I would literally camp out on stay the whole weekend. And I don't know. It just really it helped a lot. I put a lot of time into it, but I finally was able to start seeing the trends. And okay, here's what the weather's doing, and then here's where I'm seeing most of the fish. And then the weather would be different. The wind would shift, or the pressure change. Like a cold front would come in, or not. And then the fish I would start seeing the trends that they would now be in this other type of spot. And then it would happen over and over again. Okay, like bam, okay, I didn't understand why at that point. I just understood what was happening because I was seeing it. I was out there all the time. And so we actually started out these tournaments like pretty good. Like we literally caught the heaviest fish the first tournament. It was the biggest trout that we'd ever caught, and it happened to be on tournament day. And it didn't swim off, so we had a half-pound penalty. And with the half-pound penalty, we lost. We got second place by. We missed first by 1/100th of a pound. Like it was the biggest heartbreaker. It cost us $700. But we still won money, and it was still awesome. Like again, and that was actually Peter Deeks who beat us. He was like the guy to beat, and we actually caught the bigger fish. We just couldn't keep them alive. And so anyhow, so that but then like the next tournament we totally bombed. Right, we didn't do very well. And then through those tournament series, like we did pretty good. We held it around, but we befriended some of the other groups who were in the similar bait, because there were like a handful of guides, and then there's generally about 40 boats total. So it's pretty much the guides have the advantage. They're out there every day. And guess what guides do? They talk to each other. That's a big reason why they're as consistent as they are in catching fish. And so we were just we befriended these other groups because it was like us against the guides was basically it. But we were friends with Peter. He was just super nice. And so we were sharing what we were doing with this other group. Like we fished and we were all out there pre-fishing. The area is not that big, so we all saw where we were. So we decided, okay, we might as well just like, hey, like you saw me on that point. Like, hey, like we'd actually tell them if we saw fish or if we didn't, and then they would tell us if they saw fish or they didn't at the other area they were at. And so over time we realized that on all those tournaments, at least one of us, if not multiple, were on the leaderboard, like actually winning money. And it wasn't because, we were out there all the time, because we couldn't be. We all had full-time jobs. The guides were out there every day, and we were literally competing against them and beating them in many cases. And a huge part of that was the network effect, where if we couldn't pre-fish, the other at least one of the other two teams did, and they would help us out, knowing that we would help them out later. And so that was the biggest nexus. And so we literally profited every year that we did those tournaments. We couldn't quit our jobs or anything, but it was just satisfying to have success in like your first ever tournament series, and then do it over again the next year. And a huge part of that was the network, just that group of people that were just had the trust in each other to share information back and forth. It's a game changer.
Yeah, that's it, man. So essentially, this Insider Super community, for just 40 cents a day, you avoid all the haters, all the negative Nancys, all the keyboard police, all just the stuff that's out there, and you get this amazing network, which to me is worth the money alone. But on top of it, you get all the fishing tips, all that coaching, the stuff that's working right now. You even get a couple of the master courses we throw in, like how to actually go find spots, like some really cool ninja tactics to find spots, and even some stuff that just no one covers out there, which is like how to position, your boat or kayak and how to approach a new spot to make sure you don't blow it out. I mean, it's some pretty cool stuff that I think a lot of the members get in. They don't really see the value, and they watch it like, oh my gosh, I've been doing it wrong this entire time. Like, boom, eye-opening stuff. And then
even the casting, we have that casting course that we just give that now for the community members. And that's one of the things that most people are like, oh, I can cast, like whatever, I don't need that course. And they watch it and like, oh man, like there are some little tips, whether it's equipment, depending on what you're using. But if you can that's like the cast is literally like the number one thing that if you can get better, it is going to guarantee you're going to catch more fish, especially if you're fishing like open water. The more water you can cover in a given period of time, you're statistically going to catch more fish. That is one of the better things. And in most cases, people can cast at least 10 feet further after going through that course.
Yeah. And that's that extra 10 feet though, because it doesn't sound like a lot, but that's usually like, that's the money zone, right? Because the farther away you can get from your boat or kayak, the better the chance that fish doesn't know you're there yet. They haven't cinched you. And so like that extra 10 feet, you talk about the football field analogy. I love it. Like,
so it's every 30 casts, you're literally covering an extra football field of strike zone territory, of ideal strike zone territory. And if you're throwing artificial lures, 30 casts is a joke, right? You're probably doing 100 to 200 casts a day times 10. That is a lot of water coverage. Yeah. And so that's a big reason why we were doing well in those tournaments. Because in one season, we decided to do just all artificial lures, just to do it. And even the guides were doing live bait, and we still made money overall because we were covering way more water than they were. So it is shocking how big of a difference casting is. First of all, using the right equipment to enable the best casting, and then the casting technique. You got to do both. Yep.
Cool. So if you guys want all that, I think what I'll do, I'll create a link, because I know people have asked for it. We just haven't done it, just to give like a free trial, like a 7-day free trial. We'll just try it out. You literally, no money, nothing, just to get you in. But you got to put the credit card down, like to hold it, because we already learned. I already told you about the value, what do we call it, the credit card filter. So you have to put a credit card down to basically reserve your spot to show you're a real human being, not some crazy pedophile from Indonesia. And that you're going to add value to the community, and we'll give you 7 days to check out all this stuff and make sure you like it. So I will make sure we have that before all this goes live. And then finally, even if you don't want to join us, I'd love to hear your thoughts. I really do on just these Facebook fishing groups, and are they sustainable? Can they continue to grow? I don't know many of them that are growing. I think a lot of them are shrinking because of that. There's just there's a lot of new people coming in, people getting kicked out and they're leaving. And some of that is Facebook's fault because of all the privacy issues. That was a big thing where I don't know how many crazy, it was hundreds of thousands of people. And just like that 1 week, literally just deleted their account. So a lot of people are leaving Facebook because they just don't trust Facebook, the platform. But just in terms of groups, the people that are on there, I'd love to hear your feedback on, is it sustainable? Are there ways to turn it around? Or is it just a lost cause? Are we all going to have to just delete this thing, or just, have to deal with all this, the negativity that's out there? Is that just part of life? And if it is, then eventually we'll just take every awesome person away and have them here in the super community that's well organized and friendly and loving and courteous and helpful. And everyone in our community, which I love, they all want each other to succeed. Like, they truly do get excited. Like, when I see pictures like this, I get pumped, and all the other members do too. I love it. Truly everyone is, versus the other mindset is you see someone this, oh, you're long arm, that snook, that was probably only a 27-incher. Like, why would that ever be the first thing to come out of your mouth? But yet it happens day in and day out. And so that's the reason we wanted to do this podcast episode and / video, just kind of sick and tired of it. And love to hear feedback too, on any of your experiences, and have you left groups, maybe even left our group because of stuff like that. Love to hear the stories, and anything else we can do for all you members, all you many thousands of members who are in here now. and are willing to invest in themselves to save time, catch more fish, and be at a really awesome network. I'd love to hear your thoughts on how we can continue to make this better as well. And look at that old map again. Oh yeah, baby. I love seeing this thing just keep getting more and more full every.
Look at the top there. You can see the post count. And that's just the fishing reports. That's not the general post. So over 5,000 reports, and this only went live. Was it April that we did it? So not even a year. So under a year. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's blown up. So
way more than I was expecting. Again, I was expecting Florida to be it, and you can see there. Texas has a huge inshore. I have to make a trip over Texas this year. I'm dying to fish over there after seeing all those pigs come in. There's some giant trout and reds.
Yeah, we got to get back. I used to live right there in Houston for 4 years.
Yep.
Good time.
But it's been awesome watching it grow.
Yep.
And just a great family. Just I feel like even we went to a meetup recently and saw some of the people who are posting there all the time. So it was like literally my first time meeting them, which was weird because I feel like I already knew them, where you just see him very active. And so I was like, literally felt like I had known them for years. And it's literally just because I've been watching all their posts and reading their tips. It's been awesome. It literally has caused me to totally go away from the Facebook group.
Yep. And by the way, if you are listening to this on the podcast, you'll have to go watch the video so you can see the pictures that I was talking about that caused so much controversy. I mean, it's really, really, really nuts. And the link, I know for sure, I'll just make sure we put this in here. So it'll be www.saltstrong.com/podcast. That'll definitely get you to all the podcast stuff. And we'll have a link in there for you to get your 7-day free trial if you want to trial this out and see what the talk's all about. Otherwise, thank you all for all the support, all the love, all the positivity. And a little warning, if you are a negative Nancy and you're on Facebook either watching this or somehow viewing it, your negative comments will get deleted pretty quickly. So just know that we are going to hammer down on this pretty hard. We are going to give it a shot. Like I said, we don't want to just delete the group. I don't like just giving up on things. I really want to give it a fair chance, even though it's been really frustrating for like well over a year, which is why we put so much time and money and energy into this. But I do want to give it a shot because there are some great people in there, but I'm trying to pluck every one of them off into this community, honestly. But in the meantime, I want to keep it working. And if anything, once again, we can do to help out, let us know. And we're going to put the hammer down on just getting rid of all these negative Nancys and keyboard police and haters and spammers and politicians and all the other stuff that's going on out there. So that's it, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. Episode 81-ish, over and out. Go check out more, saltstrong.com/podcast. Joe Simons, like diamonds, and Luke Simons, like diamonds.
Good times. Good to be back, Joe. Good to be back.
Out. Good to have you back, dude.
Yep. Peace.
We're out of here.
That was pretty funny.